Dear students, good evening. Welcome to Law Excellence IAS. Today, the festives of Sankranti started. You can feel all the vibes around. You may also experience certain noise because of the various loudspeakers around me. Let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 13th Jan 2021. The first article for discussion, Reclaiming SAARC from the Ashes of 2020. It is 6th year the SAARC did not meet. The reasons are the differences between India and Pakistan. Any summit of SAARC need to be approved by all the members. India is not approving the summit for the reason that the cross-border terrorism of Pakistan is hurting India. You need to understand, SAARC is the only regional grouping for South Asia. Today, the world is working or facilitating trade, etc., through the regional groupings. And COVID-19 has made it the regional groupings almost important. In this scenario, for India, there is another factor that is called China factor. If you have to remember one point, other than Bhutan, all the countries of South China are part of One Belt, One Road initiative. In this scenario, India, if it has to reclaim its importance across the world, it has to work through the regional grouping. And the South Asian regional grouping, if India becomes assertive and holds it, then it can make a big difference for the region and also for the status of India. That is what is the take-home point. If India do not rise to the occasion, China can make the SAARC region itself as a way to contain India. It is clearly visible with the string of pearls policy and also the dead diplomacy China is taking up. Imposing a compromise. See the word which is chosen very carefully, that is imposing. You know, Supreme Court gave a stay on implementation of the farm laws. There are two questions over here. One is a constitutional question. Supreme Court can review a law passed by the Parliament. This power we call it as judicial review. Can it impose a stay on a parliamentary law? It's a big legal constitutional question over here. Second thing, Supreme Court also has constituted a committee. This committee is supposed to interact with government and farmers to find and advise a court about a solution. Is this committee report, will it be valid, or what is the status it possesses? It is also not clear. There is another argument that the members of the committee have openly supported the farm laws. It means, in the name of a committee, Supreme Court is trying to impose a compromise on the farmers. He is pushing the farmers to the wall is what the Supreme Court is looking at. These are the doubts that are being posed. Remember one thing, the Supreme Court, if it appears as imposing a forcible compromise on farmers, then its very legitimacy and trust of the people on the court will come down. Courts have to be very careful on this. Strained ties. In India, union territories with legislative assemblies always have one or the other problems. The major problem for them is constitutional vacuum. You can see that in the case of Delhi, the fight between the chief minister and lieutenant governor. You can also see it in the case of Puducherry. Normally, the relations between governor and government have to be cordial. The governor is a constitutional head and government is democratically elected. So this appointed authority shall not cripple the working of the government. He has to only ensure the constitutional functioning of the government. On the other side, if government starts seeing governor as one which is obstructing its work or which is autocratic force in the state, then automatically the relations gets worsened. So unnecessary interference by the governor in the administration or government seeing the governor as autocrat and unnecessary obstructionist in the governance, these two can lead to a kind of a deadlock. This is what is happening. The Puducherry Chief Minister Mr. Narayanaswamy went on a strike against the governor, Lieutenant Governor Kiran Bedi. So this kind of strained ties is not making the democracy work or will put the democracy under strain. In ancient AI-Ula, forging a new future. Here we need to study about Muslim Brotherhood. If you go to Middle East, there are monarchies. The major monarchies are Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Bahrain. all these things. This is all part of a council called Gulf Cooperation Council. In this, a new wave of democracy is going on across these Gulf Cooperation Council countries, and it is already established in Egypt and Tunisia. So this is mixing Islam and democracy, bringing them together. So Muslim Brotherhood was able to bring it together and win the elections in Egypt and Tunisia that has sent danger waves across the countries like Saudi Arabia. And Qatar, one of the monarchy, is actually promoting Muslim Brotherhood, has ownership of Al Jazeera. And second thing, there are two axis developing or existing in the case of Middle East. One is Iran-Turkey axis, the other is Saudi-led axis. So Qatar is also close to this Iran-Turkey axis. In this context, 2.5 years back, Saudi Arabia has imposed sanctions along with Bahrain and UAE. It's a complete air embargo, diplomatic cutoff, etc. So this is more like a coercive diplomacy to make Qatar to listen to these existing monarchies. But Qatar did not yield. It continued relations with Iran. It has used the airspace of Iran, Turkey to overcome this air embargo. So finally, the change in government in the United States of America, Joe Biden, has pushed Saudi Arabia to reconcile with Qatar. Saudi Arabia, Bahrain and UAE came together for a reconcilement with Qatar at Al-Ula. There are two major reasons for this. One is pushing of Qatar or sanctions against Qatar has pushed Qatar towards Iran. Second, there is a government change in United States of America. Qatar has good relations with US. And this government is also expected to bring back the Iran nuclear deal. In this scenario, developing a good relationship with Qatar appears to be essential for the existing regime. Along with that, UAE-Israel diplomatic ties has also brought in new dynamics in the region. From this perspective, this particular reconciliation have to be understood. The debilitating side effect of a flawed vaccine trial. What is this side effect? That is loss of trust. In any vaccine of a trial or pharmaceuticals, informed consent is essential. Informed consent means what is this vaccine is about, what is this trial is about, and is he willing to volunteer? Everything has to be clearly documented. ICMR also has clearly stated that audio-visual recording of the informed consent is necessary. All these are meant to build trust and legitimacy into a given trial. So this appears to be ignored in the case of Covaxin trial in Bhopal. So ignorance of these protocols will ultimately undermine the authenticity, legitimacy, and the trust people hold on a given vaccine. That is the essence of this article. Restoring credibility of Grand Old Party. The Grand Old Party is nothing but a Republican Party. After the attack on Capitol Hill by the Trump supporters, the situation got worsened in America. Grand Old Party was unable to support Trump and also unable to denounce him. In this scenario, if GOP has to restore its legitimacy in the American politics, it shall be able to denounce the Trump and able to move forward more ideologically rather than with the existing authority. So keeping this all aside, remember one point. In presidential system, if the president becomes extreme and if he is not willing to bound by the various customs values the country has, the worst scenario we saw in the United States of America. I can put it this way. Autocratic way of functioning may be possible in the case of the presidential system. So that's why America, for avoiding this autocratic way of functioning, it has brought in strong checks and balances. So these checks and balances are expected to maintain this autocracy in control. But remember, if India ever turns to be a presidential system, the checks and balances are weak in this country, and ultimately it is going to make India to suffer in the long run. In a bigger context, I am saying that. And another article says that there is a space for third political force in the United States of America. If you see, all the Republicans are not supporting Trump. The world god like George W. Bush, these are not supporting Trump kind of politics. And similarly, in the case of Democrats also, there are certain people who are not supporting the too liberal tendency of the Democrats. So, a centrist kind of party has a space in the United States politics. That is what the author is trying to say here. Policing a turbulent democracy. You know, Capitol Hill was attacked by Trump supporters. The police took the wrath of this particular attack. If you observe in Delhi, we have police, public order and land in the control of the central government. You know, 69th Constitutional Amendment Act made the difference. In USA, the situation is different. The Capitol Hill has a separate police establishment which works under the leaders of that particular house. And this Capitol Hill police can request for any reinforcement as and when necessary. So here, the Capitol Hill police haven't responded strong enough. That is the first accusation. And they have treated these agitators with a kid's glove. And the third, comparisons are brought between Black Lives Matter and this Capitol Hill attacks. In this context, in policing, we need to remember political control over the police is one thing. On the other hand is autonomy of action. So a balance is required between the political control over the police and autonomy of police action. In India, the political control is too huge. When you go to US, police autonomy appears to be much higher. This is what both the systems fail to that situation. Ahead of Gyawali's visit, Nepal, India differ on conducting border talks. You know, Kala Pani issue is not yet resolved. And there are also new developments in Nepal. That is, Nepal Pratinidhi Sabha was dissolved, which is like Lok Sabha of India. And the government alternatives are not possible at this juncture. And added to that, between India and Nepal, Joint Commission is an active engagement every year. Last year it was not able to meet due to the situations of COVID-19. This Joint Commission consists of the foreign ministers on both the levels. So they are expected to meet soon. And Kalapani, will it be discussed, is a question over here. And the second is, EPG, Eminent Persons Group, is appointed to resolve all the existing challenges between the countries. It has recommended for two important things. One is, Nepal's land boundary with India need to be looked into, and the second thing is revision of historic treaties. This Eminent Persons Group report is submitted to the Prime Minister Modi, and India is yet to accept that particular report. So these are the points in this article. This is Dr. Rambabu signing off for Law Excellence IAS.